All right, so now, for all of y'all watching on YouTube, please get into the Google Classroom. That's where we post all of our PowerPoints. All right, and appreciate that. We'll go ahead and do the Torah 10 with a wonderful... Yeah, we can do that, because sometimes my volume doesn't connect.
No worries.
So...
Here you go. Actually, stay there. So first off, has anybody seen this yet today? Anybody seen this? Has anybody read the portions? That's my next question. One, two. You see? Yes, I hope so. Otherwise, oh man, there's one. Okay, good. There's two. Thank you back there. All right, good. That's two. I need to see more hands for that. If not, you should watch these because they'll tell you what's in the portion. So. Let's do something different. Let's do Torrent 10 live. So can someone put up a timer for 10 minutes? Someone. Yeah, see if I can do it in 10 minutes.
7 minutes and 22 seconds.
We're not doing that one. That's me editing. This is me unedited. This is me live.
All right, starting.
All right, here we go. All right, so Torrent 10. So we're going to Parashat Korach, number 16:1 to 18:32. So go to the next slide, please. Just a couple seconds. So this week, what I'm covering, at least my part of it, is, here we go, the cost of rebellion, right? So within this portion, I'll be mostly focusing on chapter 16, which is the bulk of the rebellious part of it, being that Korach, Dathan, and Abiram all come up with 250 men, leaders of the congregation, trusted people who Moses knows pretty well, everyone knows, and they come up and they say, hey, Moses, you have brought us, who are you to exalt yourself and Aaron above everybody else? Everybody here is holy. Everybody has the Spirit. God dwells here among everybody. And so what they're saying is because Moses, and we get this as well throughout the chapter, when Moses tries to communicate with Dathan and Abiram, so many weird names. Dathan and Abiram, he tries to summon them for a hearing on this particular matter because this is now a legal issue. And they say, no, we will not come up. Because you have brought us out from a land of milk and honey. They're referring to Egypt as being the land of milk and honey. And they're saying that you have not brought us into a land of milk and honey. You brought us out here to die in the wilderness. So they are excluding the presence of God, and they're putting all their focus and all of their attention and their claims and their disputes against Moses and Aaron directly. And by doing this, and by insinuating that Moses chose Aaron directly instead of God appointing him as a royal grant, can click on that? This is a form of encroachment that's what Korah and all the people are doing. Is they want to encroach on the position of Aaron. They want to encroach on Moses' position. Here we go. The enter by graduate. By the way, we're actually going to see the same definition in your teaching, which I didn't realize. That was pretty cool. So to invade, to usurp, to enter in illegally into someone else's role or beyond the proper limits. So when they are insinuating that they can be holy, they're just as holy as Aaron or as Moses, they should be chosen like everybody's holy in the camp. That's what they're doing. They're encroaching upon this particular position. And by doing so, they're taking an issue not just with Moses and Aaron, they're taking issue with God, which is why the punishment is so supernatural and so unexplainable. Just the earth opens up. And this is one of the few times, if ever we see in the Torah, that someone gets dropped into Sheol, the realm of the dead, alive. They don't die. They don't go to a burial. The earth opens and they go right to essentially the realm of the dead, the pit, hell, whatever you want to call it. Right? Are you good? Everybody good? All right, cool. So this, to me, brought up some similarities between this chapter and 16 and the way that Moses stands up for God's honor to chapter 12 in Numbers, where, if we remember, it was Aaron and Miriam who were talking smack about Moses' wife, the Cushite, and saying, does God only speak to Moses? He's also spoken to us, right? So them questioning Moses' position as the chosen one of God is the same thing. It's not the exact same thing. It's very clearly a difference in scale, but it's the same concept. And so when Moses stands up for the honor of Hashem and states to God, hey, I've not done anything. I've not taken a donkey. I've not hurt anybody from these particular tribes. And then states, you take your censers, you meet me and Aaron at the door of the tent of meeting with all of your censers. And then as he states that, listen, if I'm not the one who got sent, then let them die a normal death. But if I am the one that got sent, then let something completely unnatural that's never happened before happen. Let them be swallowed up and punished divinely. So can you click on that point? So what Moses is doing in this particular instance is something we're very familiar with. And that's the suzerain vassal is standing up for the honor of the great sovereign. Similar in chapter 12, how when God came down himself, because if you remember, when Aaron and Miriam were talking about Moses, it was God that heard it first. and came down and spoke to them and gave Miriam leprosy. So Moses didn't even hear it. Moses had nothing to do with that, but it was God acting in his defense, in his honor. So now we have the reverse of that same issue, where now someone's talking about God's authority and who he chose and why he chose them, and now Moses stands up and say, if I'm the representative of God's power. Aaron was chosen by God. If I'm not, then let something extreme happen to these people. In doing so, he's standing up for the great sovereign to the vassals, so you can see with this diagram here. Moses is taking the place as the suzerain vassal, protecting the honor of the sovereign in front of the vassals, who are under his ruleship, yet he is still beholden to the sovereign. Let's go. Keep going. Keep going. And there we go. So within the events, here we go. This is why I encourage you guys to watch Torah in 10, because it just tells you what's in the portion in an itemized way. We start a mutiny. 250 liters. The earth opens up and fire consumes them. Plague breaks out. And it's checked by Aaron, who, by the way, has to run, which is like a pretty funny thing. He has to literally book it through the camp so that everyone doesn't die. It's pretty crazy. As a sign, they take all the censers and they flatten them out into sheets and put them on the altar. Then you have the rod of Aaron that just budded. And God gives, again, the Levites as a gift, as a grant covenant, as we're going to learn more in this portion, to the sons of Aaron to help them in the tabernacle. And that is going to be how, where am I on time?
5 minutes and 27 seconds.
Thank God. Okay, good. So, again, we see another example of a grant covenant in chapter 18, along with the salt covenant, which we're going to learn more about thanks to Lucas, and a lot of other things as well within this, including tithing, which is something that's covered more on Wisdom's Torah, the idea of tithing and the proper way to tithe and what it, kind of what that concept is. So we can go further a little bit. Did you know the deities of the ancient Near East were transactional, which means that it's either the god, you do everything for the god and they do nothing for you, or you're only worshiping the god to get something out of them. Whereas we see in this particular portion, especially in chapter 16, and backed up by chapter 12, that is reciprocal with Hashem. He'll stand up for your honor, you stand up for his honor. It's meant to be reciprocal like a relationship. That's why it's always compared to a marriage. We have the covenant of salt is mentioned in Numbers 18:19, and it's a well-known concept of permanence and loyalty in the ancient Near East. We're going to learn more about that, but that's just a good foundation to know going forward. And in Mesopotamia, tithing was not limited to just animals or agricultural products. It wasn't just plants or animals, but also precious metals. Or if you were a craftsman and you made something really cool, like your best statue, you could give that to the altar as your tithe, and that could be claimed by royalty as well. And some questions to consider. How many people in this portion total rose up against Aaron and Moses and were killed? It's not just 250. It's a lot more than that. What was done with the censers from the rebels and why? They may have let it slip, but if you can remember, good on you, Greg. And how is tithing different in the ancient Near East compared to how it's done with Israel? So just some simple questions that will actually, you talk about tithing a lot in this portion. Go to wisdomtorah.com to learn more about tithing itself. That'll answer this one pretty well. And that's actually, the way this is handled is pretty fun in this particular portion and going forward. But any questions so far? 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Look at that.
Oh, literally.
Oh, man, I'm good.
Pretty much verbatim.
I didn't even take a breath on that one. Any questions? Anybody? Nope? Nothing? All right, great, cool. All right. Wait, before we get started, stop the mic. This always happens.
That'd be me.
I'd sit down, you sit down, and then I'd go through the whole portion without
An hour later,
Yeah, like, oops, my pen go. So just a reminder, please get into the Google Classroom. You'll have access to all the PowerPoints and stuff like that. And then at the end, we'll talk more about the WhatsApp group. Okay? So we're going to talk about Korach. All right? Did y'all know that? That was this portion, in case you didn't read it. Okay, you should read it. Okay? All right. I think for moving forward, the way that I've noticed our trend going is that we don't have as many verses, right? Now it's more heavy material. Okay, naturally, right? In the beginning, we want to introduce everybody. But I think on this one, actually, I don't think I have really any verses except to support my arguments. Aside from like Ezekiel, Numbers 18, stuff like that. But this isn't a replacement of your studying. I want to clarify. Okay, this is where we can all come and learn together. Okay, but this doesn't supplement your own personal time reading the portion. Okay, I just want to clarify. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about Korah from number 6:1 to 18:32. Okay. So all the pictures I'm going to use for the temple comes from this temple app made by Wisdom and Torah, Haktiva Ministries, and who else? Immersive. Oh, it's right there. Yeah. Immersive. Okay. So please get this. Half of y'all are on your phones anyways while you're in here. Okay. We'll call you out. Okay, so if you're going to be on your phones, you might as well be on the temple app, okay, studying. They actually have pictures of archaeology when they do go to Israel. Okay, they have pictures of that. They have pictures of cisterns. They have quotes from the Mishnah. They have quotes from the Talmud. They have scriptural quotes to support their organization of the temple. Okay.
It's actually all rabbinical resources that the Temple Institute themselves would use. Mm-hmm. So going through that, you're learning a lot of what they use.
Mm-hmm. It's not like Joe and Rico woke up one day, well, you know what? I feel like the temple's purple. You know, that's not how it works. Okay, they use archaeology. All right. So please get it. Please, por favor. Okay. Not now on Shabbat. Okay, but in the future, after Shabbat, and maybe tomorrow or next year, 2 years, 5 years from now, I don't know. Whenever it's ready for you, please get the app. Okay, because we're going to use it a lot. I'm going to be using it a lot in my lessons because my area of studying lately has been temple. So, all right, so let's move on. We have 3 sections that we're going to talk about today. Okay, we're going to talk about history. Do you mind holding that up for me? Actually, the ladder. I forgot to put the picture of the ladder on here. So, today we have the history. Okay, we're going to talk mainly about the events of Korah, what happens. Okay, we could all read it and kind of talk about it. Okay, we're going to talk about Salt Covenant. Well, that's going to fit more in cultural context. Okay, and then finally, we're going to talk about the temple context. Okay, we're going to take care of, all this kind of takes care of itself if you study it and use those. Okay, so that's going to happen naturally. But we will focus on cultural context as well as the temple. And on the methodology, you don't have to hold it up. But we're going to talk about the temple and covenants today, largely. Okay, so we're going to see the events of Korah played out. Guess what? They all died. Okay, we have the Salt Covenant. We're going to talk about the permanence and examples, actually, of modern-day encroachment. I'm going to show you articles from, what church is the Latter-day Saints? Jehovah, are they? No. Mormons? Mormons? One of those. Okay, we have articles from the Latter-day Saints. Okay, we have articles from also the Melchizedek Christian Church. Okay, we have different articles to support the claim that whenever we say that folks literally think that there's no more priesthood and that we replace the priesthood, that there's no more Israel, that we replace Israel spiritually. It's a bunch of nonsense, hogwash. Okay, and we will talk about that today. I also will go into depth of the temple and where they guarded the second temple, which is really cool. It's really cool. We're going to talk about the 3 chambers. All right, the chamber of the spark. Well, it's hall of fire is not really a chamber, but we're going to talk about the hall of fire as well as the chamber of nothingness. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to say the English because I'm nervous. Blessed Adonai who is blessed. Blessed is Adonai who is blessed now and forever. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen us from among the peoples and given us the Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives the Torah. By the way, your dad is phenomenal at his instrument. What's it called? Oh, saxophone. Saxophone. Oh my God.
Thank you.
That was insane. I just remembered. I don't know why.
The thing is, he practiced one thing, and then when he's live, he just gave me something.
That's great. That's like me. I'm gonna go rogue today. Okay, I will go rogue. It happens. Okay, so let's talk about the history. All right? Let's go through the events. This is a very blurry picture because I don't know how to fix it of the Levites carrying the Ark of the Covenant. What?
They're green.
They're green?
Yeah, their outfits.
Oh, you're colorblind.
Not bad, y'all.
They're not actually
I don't see that.
I thought you just can't see red or
I can't see that either, I guess. Yeah, it's so great.
Well, they're like
I don't know. I don't know. So anyways, this is a picture of the Levites carrying the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, why did I put this picture on here? Anybody? Any ideas? Why did I put it here? Who's this portion about, Rico? Korah. What did he do?
His family was responsible for carrying the holy instruments.
Yes, including the ark. Okay. Now, a lot of pictures you'll see, which is incorrect, is that the Ark of the Covenant's uncovered. Okay, that's wrong. The sons of Aaron would go in, cover the ark, and then the Levites would go in and carry it. Okay, just food for thought. Let's talk about this guy. Who is Korah? All right, he is a Levite. We see that in Numbers 16:1. By the way, in the parentheses, I'll have the chapter and verse to support what I say. Okay, if I don't put any, like numbers, like in this case, I tell you it's numbers. If I don't put it, it means numbers. Okay, because a lot of my stuff is coming from the books, is coming from Numbers. If it's from Genesis, I'll clarify. First Chronicles, I'll clarify. Okay, so Korah is a Levite. Okay, we'll get into that. Actually, it's my next slide, but you'd know that because you read it. He is a cousin of Moses. I actually never considered that while reading this. I never considered that the Levites are cousins of Moses. Right? He's a son of Ishar, again, from Numbers 16:1. He carried the ark, him and his family, like Rico clarified, thank you. His family carried the holy objects, okay, which is quite the honor. Wait, first of all, if you had the honor, the privilege, and the opportunity to carry the most sacred object on earth, would you be upset about it? I would hope not, right? Because if you are upset about it, we're going to figure out what happens to you, okay? Just saying. All right, he did carry the ark. His family was in charge of the holy things in the temple. That's in Numbers 4, 1 through 15, as well as Numbers 17:9. But he was not happy with the honor that he was given. Okay, so he's like, hey, homogees, I don't like that you're in charge of us when we, in fact, are holy as well. So we're going to challenge you. Okay, does anybody, raise your hand if you read the portion? Or no? Okay. Who did he, yeah, you read it? All right. All right, cool. Who did Korah recruit? Who joined him? The sons of who? Yeah, Reuben. We're going to learn about Reuben later too, okay? Bit of review. So let's talk about who Levites are, okay? So Levites were a gift to Aaron. Okay, we see that in Numbers 18:6. Now, yeah, they're a tribe.
Also, I just want to say this. So the Levites separated themselves because of the golden calf incident.
Oh, yeah.
The Levites didn't participate. But if you think about it, that means that Korah himself did not participate in that sin. So at one point, Korah was a pretty upstanding guy. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, all these people we're seeing having this issue were in the background the whole time, being just doing the thing, and then one day this whole time they've been plotting this, and one day they decided to try it.
Yep.
I think it's good to know that this happened after they got rejected to the land. Everybody was really.
Oh yeah, the event that happened before this was the 10 spies. They went in and were like, actually, we don't like the land. So you're eligible to serve around 25 years old. You see that in Numbers 8:24. They helped the sons of Aaron. They are the firstborn. Okay, and I have a slide later. We'll see where the baton for the firstborn kind of goes to, right? And guess who's not on that list? You're right, Reuben. Okay, and they took care of the tabernacle. Okay, ready? Actually, I'll clarify real quick. A Levite, if you're a Levite, okay, again, not all Levites are Kohanim. Do y'all remember the difference between a Kohanim and a Levite?
Oh, thank you.
Kohanims are priests, yes, so they will do offerings, sacrifices. Okay, if you're a Levite, you're not a Kohanim. Okay, so whenever I say Levite, I mean Levite. When I say Kohanim, I mean priest or Kohanim, son of Aaron. Okay, sound cool? Okay, so just get that out of the way. So they're a gift to Aaron. Jonathan talked about last week, gifts. If the king gives you a gift, can it be taken away? No, I'm glad that we established that before this portion. Okay, it can't be taken away as a gift. Okay, that includes the land, right? Includes the land. All right. So wait a second. So we see that the Levites had the job of the firstborn, right? Were the Levites Kohanim? No, only the sons of who were Kohanim? Sons of Aaron were Kohanim. But all sons of Aaron were Levites, but not all Levites were sons of Aaron. Okay? So, we see that the purpose of the firstborn is to help the Kohanim, not be the Kohanim. And we have a problem lately that folks seem to think that they could be Kohanim. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so firstborn's job is to help the Kohanim, to take care of the tabernacle, to take care of the sanctuary. Okay, not to be the Kohanim and do sacrifices and have the office of priesthood. Okay, cool? All right. So, can a gift from a king be taken away? No, it cannot. Okay? Who are the first one? See, in this case, the Levites. Okay, who are the Kohen? Oh my gosh, I pressed the button too soon. The sons of Aaron. Good, good. Okay. What would we do if we were the first one? Yes, we would help the Kohen. Okay. All Kohen are Levites, but not all Levites are Kohen. Okay, that's a quote from the Cultural Background Study Bible, the NIV version. I had to exchange the word priests, okay, because just for the sake of this class, okay, I want to clarify whenever it says priest, it's referring to Kohen. Okay, so I just exchanged it. The actual quote says all priests are Levites, but not all priests, not all Levites are priests. Okay, all right. So ask your neighbor. I'm going to do short reviews because I have a lot of information. A lot. I have 107 slides. So with that being said, we're going to have short little reviews during and then one big review at the end. Okay, so ask your neighbor, who are the Kohen? What was Korah's job? And who helped the sons of Aaron? Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves. This is your opportunity to get it out. They are, but the Levites.
Oh God, I'm laughing so hard, man. It's so sad.
I think that was the idea, though, to like take over and try to
Because they said themselves that Egypt was left one. Again, that's why they all had to die. They couldn't let go of Egypt.
Okay, let's see. All right, so I want to go back. All Kohen are Levites because all sons of Aaron are descendants of Levi. Okay, it's like a specific family that has the privilege of being Kohen. Okay.
It's one family within the tribe of Levi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, say we have a family. Okay, I have 3 brothers. Okay, now we're all from the same dad. Okay, and so say my dad entrusted me with a specific job. Okay, and all of my descendants have that job. Do my brothers have that job? No. So whenever they have children, if they're not a descendant of me, will they have that job?
No.
No, they have a different job. Okay, so the Kohen comes from Aaron, okay, but he comes from Levi. Okay, so in that example we have the dad, Levi, or not the dad, but you know what I mean, the tribe head. Okay, then you have Aaron, and his sons have the priesthood, the Kohen. And then you have the Levites. Everybody else help. Okay, sound good? Okay. So, let's review some concepts. Korah is a Levite. Is he a son of Aaron? No. Does that mean he could do sacrifices? Does that mean he could qualify as high priest? No. All right. Korah, joined by the sons of Reuben. That's interesting that it said that. We're going to talk about that, okay? Korah was not happy with the honor that he was been given. The Levites, okay, the Levites are a gift from God to Aaron. Can that be taken away? No, because God is a king, right? Cool. Levites did the duty of the first one, which was to help the who? The Kohen. Okay, to take care of the tabernacle. All right. So let's do a metaphor. All right. All of you in the restaurant industry are probably familiar with this. If not, next time you go to the restaurant, you'll notice. All right. So you have a server and you have a busser. Okay. What does a server do? Anybody? Serve food. Take your orders. Okay. Is a mediator between the kitchen and you. Okay. What about the busser? What do?
cleans.
They clean. Okay. So what happens if a busboy comes and tries to take your order? What's the server going to do? Beat him up? No, probably not beat him up. No, but he'd be like, why did you just do my job? Like, that's not your job.
Stay in your lane, bro.
Okay, and the boss would probably be upset. Okay, if you're really busy, it might help, actually. But, so you have a server and a busser. Okay, they're not the same. They're not the same thing. Okay, so you see, the server takes orders, brings food, mediates between the kitchen and the people. Okay, then you have the buzzer, cleans, makes things that make sure that things are orderly. Okay, make sure the drinks are filled. Make sure they have everything on the table they need. All the napkins are stocked. Okay, and they do whatever the server needs. Okay, so in this example, say hypothetically, we could actually exchange it. It doesn't matter. Okay, the point is, Kohen and Levites do not have the same job. Okay, so a busboy or a busser is not a server, just like a normal Levite is not a Kohen. All right, sound cool?
Mhm.
All right, cool. I'm glad that we established that. So now I'm going to talk about the portion. So now Korah, the son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, and Dathan and Abidam, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Beleth, son of Reuben. Okay, y'all remember him? Reuben? What happened to Reuben? Yeah, he didn't get it. He didn't get the first one. Okay, he was pretty upset about it. And they rose up before Moses with a number of people of Israel, 250 chiefs of the congregation, chosen from the assembly, well-known men. Okay, they assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far. For all in the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?" Now listen, if you've done your context and you read the past, what week are we on? Like 35-ish? If you read the past 30-some weeks, you would read, who put Aaron and Moses in those positions? Was it themselves? No, who did it? God. So is it really an issue with Moses and Aaron? No. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this guy, Reuben. Okay. He was the firstborn of Leah. Recall. Okay. Jacob had 2 wives. Don't remember the names? I'll give you one. That's cheating. What's the other one? Rachel. Okay. Who was the firstborn of Rachel? Joseph. And he got the firstborn blessing. Okay, not Leah. Okay, so firstborn of Leah, we see that in Genesis 29:32. He did not receive the firstborn blessing from Jacob, his father. We know that because of the robe. Right? Some translations say robe of many colors. Is that an accurate translation? No. Okay. So, he slept with his father's, Jacob's, concubine. Yeah. So that's like, how do I explain that one politically correct? Secondary wife. So it's more for having children, right? So if, say,
Well, a modern example would be like if
a surrogate, right? A surrogate.
Sure.
Yeah, not a mistress, not a side piece. Okay.
They have like a
Surrogate.
stand there and
Yeah, they still had rights.
It's kind of like regular people.
So it was more for like making sure that the lineage was carried. Okay. Yeah. So Jacob's, his dad's concubine, which still had rights. Okay. So yeah, that didn't end well. Okay. So Reuben disrespected his father's bed, which is a shameful thing to do. Okay. So you see the first one, number 1, went to Joseph. Okay, the son of Rachel. And then it went to Ephraim. Okay. And then it went to the Levites. Notice who's not on that list. Who's not on that list? Reuben. Okay, do you think he'd be upset about it? And so this guy probably felt pretty marginalized. Okay, probably felt cheated, left out. Okay, so it's pretty easy for his descendants to join in on this rebellion against the leadership. Okay, because they probably felt like it was rightfully theirs. Okay, so notice who joins Korah, someone who probably felt cheated. Okay. All right, let's do some review questions. What tribe was Korah from? Levi. Good. What job did Korah have? Carrying the ark. Very good. Who was Korah a cousin of? Moses. What were the jobs of the Levites? Care of the tabernacle, temple. Yes. Who had the priesthood? What's it? Sons of Aaron. I can't tell if I'm deaf or y'all are really quiet. Okay. So, can any Levite be a Kohen? No, only a son of Aaron. Can any Levite? Yes, but just anybody? They have to be a descendant of Aaron. Who was Korah's actual issue with? God. It wasn't Moses or Aaron. Okay, it may seem like such. Okay, but whenever you challenge the authority of somebody who puts them in there, it's not with those people. Okay, here are the answers. Okay, Levi carrying the ark, Moses guard and care, the sons of Aaron, Noah, and God. Okay, and the reason number 6 is no is because it has to be specific. Only the sons of Aaron can be
the
covered.
Korach is just a family. You can say that you have to be from
Okay.
the vehicle.
All right. Here's a summary of chapter 16. You did the same thing on your thingy, but for the whole portion. Korah, Dathan, and Abraham, Abidam, rose up against Moses and Aaron. Okay, Moses challenged them to prove who was chosen by God. The ground opened up, swallowed Korah, Dathan, Abidam, along with their households. 250 men offering incense were consumed by the fire from the Lord. Aaron made atonement for the people, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died, not including 250.
Oh man, that was the answer to one of the questions I had. There it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about the sons of Korah. Okay, remember the Levites were a gift, and God made a perpetual covenant with them. Okay, so what happened to the sons of Korah? They did not die. And we see that in Numbers 26:11. It clarifies later in the future that the sons of Korah did not die. Okay, why? Because God honors his covenants. All right, go ahead.
I just want to also mention, in this portion, it does mention that the families of Dathan and Abiram do die. Like, their household, their little ones, everyone from that family goes, but not Korah. Mm-hmm. Only Korah himself dies, but not his family.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about covenants. Okay, so we're going to talk about the salt covenant. Okay. And it's permanent. So in Numbers 18, verse 19, all holy contributions that the people of Israel present to the Lord I give to you and to your sons and daughters with you as a perpetual. Does anybody know what perpetual means? Permanent. Okay, permanent. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord for you and for your offspring with you. Did you know that there are only 3 instances of covenant of salt in the Bible? Anybody know what they are? There's one. So Aaron and his sons. Who else? David and his lineage is a covenant of salt, okay, and also the sacrifices. Okay, so Aaron and his sons is a perpetual covenant of salt made by God. Okay, David's line, perpetual covenant of salt, so it has to be restored by Yeshua. All right, so it makes sense then. In the future, we'll read in Ezekiel, the priesthood is still there. The Levites and the sons of Aaron are all there because it has to be restored because it's a covenant of salt. Okay. Also, I'm going to read from this one real quick. I forgot to add on to the slide, so I'll read it now. This is from the Archaeology Study Bible, okay, the ESV version. The covenant of salt. Salt is a preservative symbolizing permanence in antiquity. And antiquity means, in fancy terms, a long time ago. Okay. It reflected the binding, irrevocable nature of a covenant. There was a nomadic custom in which a person shared his salt with another as a sign of mutual alliance. You know, there's a lot of superstitions in, I think it's a Catholic church because my dad's Catholic. Well, he doesn't practice, but he thinks he is. Okay. But he has a lot of the traditions. So whenever we go out to eat, there was this time I was younger, I didn't know what I was doing. He asked for the salt. Did anybody come from a Catholic background at all? Semi? Okay. So whenever somebody asks for salt, if you hand them the salt, they don't like that. And in some cultures, they prefer you to put it on the table because the second you accept the salt, you're accepting a covenant. It's also, they said it's to be bad luck. I don't know why, honestly. But a lot of cultures will do that. So if you eat food shared with salt, you have a mutual agreement. Same thing with the threshold. We see, remember with Lot, right? And the angels walked through the threshold. We talked about the threshold covenant, right? Imagine if a robber came through the front door. Do you think they'd be able to rob them? Okay, so, sorry, can you put the remote on the table? Thank you. So, in the threshold covenant, similar, okay, if you come into a threshold covenant, your honor has to be preserved. If this is a threshold, and a robber tried to steal from me, and he walked through my threshold, we're in a covenant. He can't steal from me. In antiquity, okay? So, likewise, if we share a meal, okay, if we share, like Tony and I, if we share a meal, and we're enemies, and we share a meal, we're good. Because it has salt. And we would understand that. Same thing if we're enemies and I give you water. We're at a peace. Okay, how long do covenant of salt last? That's what we're going to answer. Okay. For, a long time. Okay. So y'all know Salt Bay, right? I tried to get the picture of him putting the salt. I couldn't find it. Okay, but let's talk about the covenant of the salt. Okay. This is brought to you by this book. I read this whole book last night. This is actually not part of the plan at all. I wasn't going to talk about it.
It's a person.
That's... Yeah, like all of my pictures. Yeah. So, I read that book last night, and it really bugged me because I had this whole plan of what I was going to talk about. Bianca was there, her family joined us for Shabbat. And I was so frustrated because I really wanted to only talk about the temple. But I have to talk about this because it really shows the permanence of God's covenants, and it relays it. Okay, because it's only mentioned 3 times. That's it. Did you know that incense had salt in it? Yes, incense had... So prayers have some aspect of a covenant of salt because it has salt. So you have a covenantal person bringing incense. So the prayers are, in a sense, coming from covenantal people. Right? So God is not obligated to answer, but you know what I mean. Along the same lines, right? So let's talk about how covenants used to be made in antiquity. Okay, so Crystal and I want to come into a covenant. This is what we do. Okay, y'all know that y'all seen the movies. Okay, we cut our hands. Okay, we shake. GG's. All right, and then we mix the blood, and then we drink the blood. Are we supposed to do that?
No.
No. So. Oh, no, that's gross. So, don't do that during COVID. Okay. So you notice, I shake hands, but with blood, and then they drink it, but with the mixed blood. Also, this also happened where, say we do this, we cut and we do this. Okay, we take the mixed blood, and if we wrote down the terms and conditions, we'd put the mixed blood onto the paper. Okay, whatever it is, stone. Okay, and then we would keep it safe, probably around our heart. That's why indexing is important, you know, indexing. So whenever Moses, whenever Moses sprinkled the blood on the people, and then onto the altar? The altar. That's an indexing. You agreed to a covenant. Okay, same principle here, all right? All right, so... blood equals life. We know that. That's a biblical, that's actually straight from Leviticus. Okay, blood equals life. Salt equals blood. A lot of times, instead of the blood, we would use salt in antiquity. Okay, they would also use salt because they understand how important salt is for life. Okay, so if blood equals life and then salt equals blood, salt equals life as a result. They're used synonymously. They can be exchanged. Okay, but we're not supposed to drink blood, right? We're not vampires. You know what I was thinking? I was reading the book, and it said that a lot of people that only eat vegetables crave salt, as opposed to, drinking animal's blood. Okay, so I thought, maybe vampires are vegans.
Makes sense.
And they're craving the salt. So, anyways, I wonder if that's the case. I don't know. So, in cases of covenant making, salt would be used in exchange of blood. And think about it. We're not supposed to drink blood. Actually, it's very descriptive. We're not supposed to do that. Okay, so what can be used instead? Salt. Some people use wine as well. Okay, salt or wine also represents blood. Okay, bread, flesh. Okay, you're eating a covenantal meal every Shabbat. All right, we have 3 elements. We have the bread, the salt, according to some traditions, I don't know if y'all do it too, and then the wine, okay, and Shabbat, right? The covenant of salt, this is a quote, as a form or phrase of the blood covenant, is a covenant fixed, permanent, and unchangeable, enduring forever. How long? So if I'm a person and we come into a covenant with one another, if you die, what happens? The covenant's done. Okay, but we have a covenant. Well, God has a covenant of salt with Aaron. Aaron died, but his priesthood stayed because God doesn't die, right? Okay, so is that covenant still valid? Yes, because has God died? I really hope not. Okay, so let's continue. More about the salt covenant. Salt is also a preserver. Okay, I'm not going to go into culinary right now. Those who share salt together are in a life-sharing covenant. Okay, life-sharing. So the covenant of salt is really only as long as each other are living. Okay, but the thing about the two parties of the Davidic covenant, say with David, who are the two parties? David and God. David died. Okay, what about God? No. So why is it so important that the Messiah comes from the line of David? Because God's still living. So this covenant is still valid. Okay? For someone to hurt or steal someone after they came into it. Did that sentence make sense? For someone to hurt or steal from someone in a salt covenant, it is... Yeah, that didn't make sense. Let me paraphrase. Okay? If we come into a salt covenant, me and Johnny, and I steal from him, everybody around me would understand I'm a wicked person. Okay? Same thing if we share a meal. Okay? Same idea. If he walked through my threshold and I killed him, all right? Same idea. Lack of honor. Okay? Highly, there's a lot of shame in that. Okay, go ahead.
Just also make a quick note. This concept of salt being important for a variety of different reasons, including preserving food as well. Mm-hmm. It was so well known in the ancient world. A lot of the times you'd have workers or people who are being paid for their labor being paid in salt.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because it was an extremely hot, it was a hot commodity. It was almost as valuable as gold in some areas of the world because of the value it had for covenants, for agriculture, for food, for everything.
So let's think about this for a second. Salt is, thank you for bringing that up. That's interesting. Okay, anyways. Oh yeah, oh, that was a good one. I didn't read that one. I didn't read it because they had a chapter for it in the book, and then I kind of skimmed over it because I really wanted this context. They talked about how they say that Sodom got in trouble because they didn't honor, no, it was something with Lot. They didn't honor Lot. They were trying to make Lot do something bad, even though they shared salt with everybody. So I think that's what it was, and that's why it shows in the pillar of salt. To my knowledge, from the book. Okay, it could be wrong. It's probably wrong, I'll be honest. So I'll do more research on that. That's a good question. Does God die? He said, yes, I want you out of here.
No.
Okay, no, thank you, Barry. No, God does not die. Okay, obviously not. Because, wait, after the millennium reign, who does Yeshua turn it back to anyways? God. So did he die? No. Does that mean these covenants passed away? No, because they're still valid as long as the person making the covenant is still alive. Okay, God made all these covenants. Okay. I don't know about you. Okay, think about it. I don't know about you, but I don't want to believe in a God that can die. Right? That'd be kind of dumb. All right. Also, I don't know about you, nor do I want to believe in a God that can neglect or change his mind about the covenants that he made. Okay, so think about it for a second. Wait. If God can die, well, that's not good. I don't want to believe in a God that can die, period. Okay. But what about if he could just change his mind about the covenants that he made and he swore in his name with salt? Is that a God you want to believe in? No, because he has no honor. Okay, if that's the case. That's like me and you coming into a covenant, and I'm like, JK. Actually, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay. Would I have honor if I did that? No. So if God changes his mind and breaks his covenants that he made, that would bring shame to his name. And he's actually really, really keen on not doing that. Okay? So, ask your neighbor. All right, little review. What did covenant making used to look like in antiquity? What did salt represent, and how long did a salt covenant last for? Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves. Huh? Oh, in antiquity? No. You can talk about it if you want to. All right, ready? Johnny wants to talk about the Hebrew word real quick.
I was gonna say that a lot of the people, like, I don't want to say Christians, but people that say that the priesthood is not eternal,
Olam.
they say that the Hebrew word olam, it doesn't really mean forever. By definition, in the context in that verse, it means for the perpetuity of the king. And in this case, the king that's making the covenant with the priest is God. And then you have to ask, okay, is God, like you said, is he gonna die? No. But then there's a whole other argument, but I think you're going to get into it.
Yeah, I get into it. All right. So, I'm going to get into it right now. All right, there's this common misconception. Okay, God made a permanent covenant with Aaron and his sons. This is the common misconception. Okay, this is not the correct conception. What's the opposite of misconception? Conception? Okay. So, God made a permanent covenant with Aaron and his sons. God changed his mind. God came and died, nullifying the covenant. God became high priest in the order of Melchizedek. The Levitical Aaronic priesthood is done away with. Now we can have the office of the priests. Question, does that sound logical to you? Yeah. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let's go through it slowly. God made a permanent covenant with Aaron and his sons. Great, that's it. That's the end. That's where it should stop. Okay, God made a permanent covenant in form of covenant of salt as long as he lives. Does God die? This is where the doctrine of the Trinity kind of messes things up. Okay, because if you believe that Jesus is God and that Jesus can die, then God can die. And that again, that answers the question from earlier. Is that someone you want to believe in? Go ahead.
That kind of doctrine kind of sounds like encroachment to me.
It does. Yes, it does. We'll talk about it too. So, does God change his mind about his covenants? Who can break it? Can God break it or can we break it? We do. And who bears the curses for it? We do. Okay, but God, as loving as he is, he wants to restore it all the time. Okay, that's why in Ezekiel, we're going to read later, the Levitical priesthood is restored. Okay, Yeshua is going to restore the Davidic line. Okay, all of this is with reference to a permanent covenant that God made. Okay, so God came and died. Does that make that sentence by itself? That's not really sense. God came and died. Does that make sense to you? Okay, and thus nullifying the covenants that he made. Does that sound like a God you want to believe in? One that can die, and then also change his mind about covenants. Now, this is not to demean Yeshua by any means. No. I'm trying to prove a point that the doctrine of the Trinity makes no sense when you pair it with covenants. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, and then if Yeshua was God, then he also became high priest. That doesn't make sense. Okay, because he gave that to Aaron. All right, so I think we can move on now, right? All right, this is a common misconception. All right, this is straight from my wife told me I had a different slide for it. I kind of called everybody out, right? And she said it was too aggressive, so I'm going to change it. Okay, so I have the links here if you want to read it. All right, this is why I want you to get the Google Classroom so you can do it. Okay, so this is straight from the LDS Church. I don't know what branch they're from. Okay, I'll be honest. Mormons? Okay, so the Mormon Church, LDS. Okay, you have been ordained into the Aaronic priesthood. What are you supposed to do now? That's the title of the article. No, that's the question. That's the prompt of the article. That sounds like encroachment to me. Does any of you know for certain you're from the line of Aaron?
I want the verse.
Show me the verse, right? Show me the verse. Well, these people do apparently. So the order of Melchizedek precedes, supersedes, and makes obsolete the old order, the Levitical priesthood. And I love how they quote Hebrews 7. That's beautiful. Romans 7 and Jeremiah 31. The new covenant. Like, why would they do that? That doesn't make sense. Okay. So this is just, again, Melchizedekchristianchurch.org. Go read it if you want. Okay, I was going to go really in depth, but I didn't want to be too aggressive. Okay, I want to respect everybody because last thing I want is somebody coming up to me being really aggressive about my beliefs. Okay.
There's a lot of Mormons.
There's a lot of Mormons in this room.
Practice on the bikes outside.
Just on the bikes outside. I got to edit that out. Okay. You have been ordained. All right. I want to answer this question. What are we supposed to do now, right?
Not read that.
Believe in communion? Okay. So, is this called encroachment?
Yes.
It is. And let's talk about why. So, thanks to Rico Jr., we also have this definition. Okay, it means to enter by gradual steps or by stealth into the possessions or rights of another. Okay, so rights of another. I want to go here. Whose right is the Aaronic priesthood to? Sons of Aaron. Not us. Okay, unless you know for absolute certain through genealogy or whatever it is that you come from the line of Aaron. Unless you can do that, that's fine. Okay, but if not, why bother? You saw what happened to Korach. He died, right? And he was a Levite. Okay, so we have no excuse. We cannot do that. Okay, but it still doesn't make sense, though. If you think that the priesthood's done away with, it doesn't make sense. Okay, does it make sense to you? For us to say, well, the priesthood's done away with. Okay, now, even if you're not a son of Aaron, you could be in the Aaronic priesthood. Does that make sense? No. Okay, so let's go to Ezekiel. Okay, Ezekiel, there's a vision of the temple given. Okay, now the second temple, there are some things added to the second temple. Yes, but it's not the same temple from the vision. Okay, it still has to happen. So these events take place in the future. Okay, like Squidward. Y'all remember that episode? Or am I too old? Am I too old? Oh, man. Anyways.
I remember it.
I remember. I watched it when it came out live. Live.
Saturday morning, too.
Jeez. All right, anyways. So, we're going to read some Ezekiel. Okay, and I put in bold every time it references the priests and Levites. Okay, because it's important that they are still there in the upcoming temple. They're still there. Okay, so let's read. And on the outside of the inner gate, there were chambers for singers in the courtyard, in the inner courtyard, which was to the side of the north gate, and their faces were south with respect to one, and on the one side of the east gate, one facing to the north. And he said to me, this chamber with the Wait a second, that's weird, because if you believe that God came and died and did away with his covenants that he made, this has no place in your theology. None. Okay, and we'll talk about why. Because if you say priest, you'll be like, I'm a priest, okay? Okay, let's continue, because it clarifies. Who are taking care of the responsibility of the temple, and the chamber with its face to the north is for the priests who are taking care of the responsibility of the altar. They are the descendants of Zadok. Who's they in this scenario? The bolded priests. Okay, they are the subject. Are the descendants of Zadok, the ones who approached from among the descendants of Levi to the Lord to serve him. Okay, let's talk about who Zadok is. He is a Cohen, so that means he's from the line of who? Aaron. Well, yes, but also Aaron. Recorded to be a descendant from Eleazar, the son of Aaron. Okay, he was a high priest of Israel during the reigns of David and Solomon. So is this just anybody? Is this the Melchizedek priesthood that they're talking about? No, it's the Aaronic priesthood. That's still present in Ezekiel. So again, if you believe that in this situation, I don't know how far it is, I don't want to go too far. This right here. If you believe in this situation, then Ezekiel has no place in your theology. And you have to acknowledge that Ezekiel's not true. Think about that for a second. That I wouldn't feel very smart if I did that. Okay? So let's continue. Okay? And he said to me, the chambers of the north and the chambers of the south, which are before the courtyard, they are the holy chambers in which the priests, we already established who he's talking about, okay, who are near to the Lord will eat the most holy objects. Yes, they shall put the most holy objects and the grain offering and the sin offering and the guilt offering, for the place is holy. When the priests enter, then they, the priests, shall not go out from the sanctuary to the outer courtyard, and there they, the priests, must put their garments on which they serve, because they, the priests, are holy. They, what am I going to say? The priests must put on their other garments, and then they, the priests, may enter the area. So we see that the priests are still present in Ezekiel in the future. Okay? And he said to me, Son of man, thus says the Lord God, these are the statutes of the altar on the day when it is made, to sacrifice a burnt offering on it and to sprinkle blood on it. We talked about indexing, okay? And you must give to the Levitical priests, He's very specific. Does he say, I'm sorry, does he say Melchizedek priests? No, he doesn't. Who are from the offspring of Zadok? Wait, who's Zadok? Y'all remember? He was a high priest during Israel in the time of David and Solomon, so he's a descendant of Aaron. Okay? So, the Levitical priests who are from the offspring of Zadok, a son of Aaron, the ones coming near me, okay, declares the Lord God, to serve me a bull, a calf, as a sin offering. Is it really a sin offering? What kind of offering is it? Y'all remember? Purification. Y'all are so smart. Okay. All right. I have a little note. This web page is using significant memory. That's okay. All right, and you must bring them near the Lord, and the priests must throw salt on them. Oops. Interesting. It's going to be interesting to read that. And they must offer them as a burnt offering to the Lord. For 7 days you must provide a goat of the sin offering or the purification offering for the day, and a bull, a calf, and a ram from the flock without defect. You must provide them. In 7 days they, the priests, must purify the altar, and they must cleanse it, and so they will consecrate it. And they will finish the days, and then on the 8th day and beyond that, the priests will offer on the altar your burnt offerings, your fellowship offerings, and then I will be pleased with you, declares the Lord. Wait, who are they? The priests. And who are the priests from? Zadok. And who's Zadok from? Aaron. So is he talking about the Melchizedek priesthood? That it supersedes and does away with the Aaronic? No, it does not. Okay?
Not only that, but it's talking about the not the rebuilding, but the
Rededication
rededication of
of the altar. Yeah.
So it's, on top of that, the temple's coming back.
And their sacrifices. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thus says the Lord God, every foreigner, this is, I wish I had this 3 weeks ago. Okay? Every foreigner uncircumcised of heart and uncircumcised of flesh shall not come into my sanctuary. Remember I talked about the sword briefly, right? The dividing in the courts. Okay, nobody uncircumcised can enter, no foreigner. Okay, this is important. Okay, because this is a covenant. The circumcision is a sign of a covenant. Okay, or every foreigner, uncircumcised of heart and uncircumcised of flesh, shall not come into my sanctuary. Not any of the foreigners, Israelites. But the Levites who removed themselves from me at the time of astray, now it's going to reference the golden calf. Okay? So now it's not just the priests. Now they're talking about the Levites. Who went astray from me and went after them. As a result, they will bear their guilt. Then they will be in my sanctuary, those serving in my sanctuary as sentries at the gates of... Are they done? Okay. Yeah. Then they really inspirational.
So it looks like the son of the sons of Korach. They shall not
yeah.
as a priest.
That's right.
Maybe all my holy objects.
Yes. And also... Oops. Hi. How are you?
You can come in here.
What's your name? Norma. Sorry. I'm deaf. Okay, so continuing on. We're not going to do the review because of time. Okay. So the function of the priest is to mediate, to proclaim the word of God, and to teach. The office has sacrifices, access to holy things, and given to Aaron and his sons.